Heroes of the Heart stream. And as we wait for our second round of players to join in, and for our first round of players who are still playing to get some food and get some drink and take a second to relax a little bit, I am here to just answer any questions or talk a little bit about anything that might be going on. We're super excited about the amount of money we've been able to raise for Heroes of the Heart for our good friend, and I'm super duper grateful at everybody who has come to watch us do our little busking play to help John and his family out. But while I'm here and we're waiting for everybody to arrive, if anybody in the chat has any questions, we've got a bunch of wonderful people in our chat who might have some questions. Yay, it's Ask the DM time. And I promise you that my questions or my answers are in no way official. They are just my own personal opinions and stuff. I guess if you want to ask me Dungeons and Dragons questions, that'd be best. I'll take any questions you have, especially if it's about the game that we just played. If you wanted to know about, all the different stuff that we've been doing. If you have any questions about Dungeon Drunks. Izzy wants to know what my favorite color is. Blue. Blue would be my favorite color. Demono asks, do you find it funny as I do, that my attempts to help you kill Mac are fruitless? Yeah, that's what happens when you roll dice. It's all up to just the randomness of life, and sometimes it doesn't matter how much advantage you have and how many times you roll. Sometimes you're just gonna still roll a bunch of ones all in a row. It happens. It's kind of funny when it does. I find it appropriate when it's monsters, and yeah, it's kind of like you appeal to the gods and they say nope. Kiyosh wants to know, what do you think about people playing catfolk swashbucklers? Ooh, yes, Tabaxi just came out in Volo's Guide to Monsters. Well, it was a couple months ago at this point. I have Volo here. I probably can't see him on the stream, but I think the Tabaxi are kind of awesome. I am upset that because they're relatively new to at least 5th edition, and because they're cat people, if you try to do a search for either Tabaxi or cat people online to try to find an image for your character to use, all you find are sexy cat ladies. Now, there's nothing wrong with sexy cat ladies, but if you want to, say, play a male Tabaxi, or if you would like your Tabaxi to not be sexy, at least overtly, your options are limited. Very, very, very limited. The Tabaxi that's actually in Volo's Guide is very cool looking. I like that lithe, powerful, not at all sexy version. As far as swashbucklers, well, I think it's incredibly brave for a cat to live on water, and that would certainly be an interesting thing for me to role play in a game. Let's see. Glib Shark has a question. Do sentient spiritual weapons have rights as individuals? If they're sentient, I'd say yes, but they're spiritual weapons, which means they're only around for a minute. So I'd say yes, for that minute, they have rights as individuals. Let's see, any other questions? Of course, that does beg the question, if a spiritual weapon is sentient and it is summoned into existence by a cleric who can make it appear as any form that they want, what does this spiritual weapon think about that form? I mean, certainly in Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks, Bernie has created some interesting looking spiritual weapons. And by interesting, I mean crazy. Glibshark wants to know, does this spell have a soul? I am not qualified to answer that question. I'm just a dungeon master. I am not a philosopher. Excuse me as I scroll through more questions. All right, Izzy asks, if it does have rights as individuals and the person who summoned it and then cast something else that caused it to be dismissed, does that cleric just commit murder? I'm going to say no, because it only has a shelf life of a minute anyway. And if the spell ends naturally after a minute, you wouldn't consider that murder. Nah, no murder. Let's see. Could a sentient spiritual weapon have an existential crisis, asks Blue Team. Absolutely. Especially if what you summon is a pacifist spiritual weapon. No, man. I don't want to attack this bugbear. Can't we all just get along? Ugh, you don't get me. I mean, I wasn't born yesterday. I was born 5 seconds ago. Izzy asks, are there any races or variants that you don't allow in your game or any that you feel are just too strong? The quick answer is no. The longer answer is I pretty much allow any race and I pretty much allow any variants. My usual game, I don't allow evil characters. I feel like unless I'm running an evil campaign, I don't want... It's really hard to justify even chaotic neutral characters. I want these characters to get along, and I don't want my players to have the excuse of I'm being a dick just to be a dick. And evil generally does not mix with good, at least long term. But as far as actual races or variants, I've even been allowing the Unearthed Arcana into my game, especially once the updated Unearthed Arcana rules for the Ranger came out. I was very excited because I think all of us in Dungeon Drunks felt like that the Ranger needed a little bit of a buff. So, oh, hey, look, I'm on the stream. That's exciting. You can see me now. Do I have any boogers? I hope not. Are there any that you feel are just too strong? Not that I've encountered yet. Smart players who min-max are going to make really strong characters, and certainly if you roll your stats, you could roll super well, and you could end up with a really powerful character. But I don't think any character is 100% foolproof, and I think all characters, especially good characters, have a weak stat or a weakness of some sort. And so it's my challenge as the DM to challenge those players. But no, I don't think inherently there's anything that's too strong. Let's see. Demona asks, is bringing something sentient into existence so it can die? Wow, this question has gotten a lot of traction. Is bringing something sentient into existence just so it can die a minute later considered cruel and unusual punishment or torture? I guess it depends on what the sentient weapon thinks. I mean, maybe you bring a bloodthirsty, crazed sentient weapon into existence who is happy that it gets a minute worth of existence to slaughter things, in which case, no. Shadows Flames asks, or is it the fastest and easiest parenting ever? Sure. Izzy goes on to say, I've heard people not like having flying PCs. Yeah, definitely once you add a character that can fly, whether it's a wizard who has the fly spell, or you allow an Aarakocra, or you allow the Aasimar have an ability that lets them fly, it adds a little bit more complexity to your maps and to your planning in general. And complexity can be more difficult, but once again, that's on me. My job as the Dungeon Master is to challenge my players, and I should know if one of my players can fly to be prepared for that to be an eventuality. But yeah, I do know in some games, and I'm not saying if your DM says no flying creatures or no Kenku or no whatever, especially if they've got an in-game reason, or even if they don't, if they're just not fans, guess what? They're in charge. That's okay. Everybody's got preferences. As I said, I don't allow evil characters, and some people love playing evil characters, but I feel like in a campaign in a long-term campaign, I've run short one-shots with evil characters, and I actually ran an evil campaign where everybody was evil. But, it's the DM is making the game, and so they can do whatever they want because, you know what, they've got to run everything. But I don't think it's I don't have any problem with flying characters. Glib asks, what's a class you haven't played yet and would like to most? I haven't played a sorcerer wizard-ish character just yet. In 5th edition that we're talking about. If we're talking about all of D&D time, oh god. But if we're talking about 5th edition as far as playing, Let's see. I've played a bard, a monk. I've gotten a lot of chances to be clerics and fighters. I was a ranger in a 4th edition game. My last 4th edition character was a spellcaster, so I have played spellcasters before. But yeah, I haven't really had a chance to dive into playing as a 5th edition spellcaster, so that's probably what I would want to do. Oh, Vicky wants to know, how did the evil campaign go? Surprisingly well. I ran it for 10 months, I think it was 9 or 10 months. It was almost a full year. And it was, as far as what I think a lot of people would consider a successful campaign, it was. We had a beginning, middle, and an end. The characters leveled up several times. They were a cohesive unit. They attained their goal, and everyone had fun. So by those metrics, it went really, really well. They were just evil. The Demono asks, what is your dream character that you wish someone would play in your campaign, but that nobody has done yet? The dream character someone has played in my game. I don't know. I don't know if I have a dream character. I enjoy the extremes. I either really enjoy people who are like, I'm going to create the crazy bugbear barbarian, or go with an unearthed arcana wizard of crazy, or a warlock that does amazing things. Or on the opposite side, I kind of love also the characters that are like, I'm a human cleric. I'm a vanilla-ish vanilla, because I feel like those moments in where you are quote unquote boring, because a lot of us like to play D&D so that we could be the high elves, and we could be gnomes, and we could be barbarians, and we could be warlocks and all this crazy stuff. But to be like, I'm a human fighter, I think that's actually amazing, because that offers so much opportunity to be a character in so many different ways and to react to things. Oh, that was a lot of questions in a very short amount of time. I should check in with everybody else, because we're starting to get close here. Do we have everybody, or are we still waiting on people? And no one's going to talk to me because no one wants to talk.
I think we're waiting on one.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll keep vamping for a little bit while we wait for one more person. Or if does somebody have... Is she starring our break? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm now reacting to like 12 different things that are going on. Which is basically what a dungeon master does. Can we get an update on the GoFundMe? Can someone find out, like a grand total of? They had their own. This is how much we want to raise, and I know we've done. A lot of people have donated a lot of money, and thank you for that. We've been able to help the Sedlak family raise a lot of money and help them in this very difficult time. Do we happen to have a total?
Right now, the GoFundMe is at $6,300, $6,303.
Perfect. Yeah, and obviously not all of that is stuff that happened in the stream. A lot of people, a lot of family members, and a lot of friends were donating long before we came along. But I think it's good to know that we've been able to help with that total. And thank you to everybody that's been listening and donating. And if you haven't gotten a chance to donate for whatever reason, but we're able to spread the word, that's just as helpful, because if you can't donate, but you spread the word to all your Twitter followers and 10 of those people donate, then that's amazing. That's I think you can take credit for that, because, not all of us have money, but a lot of us have time. And so here I am doing D&D because I have more time than money, and I don't even really have time. All right.
Is there anything you want, the chat out there, is there anything you want to ask the players of right here? I know that that this last week has been just a flurry of character creation and getting to explore some ideas that that maybe we had. We can talk about people's characters with whoever we have. Lori, why don't you talk about your character here?
Okay. Yeah, I'm playing a bugbear barbarian, which I was super excited about. I love the monster classes. They're so different and challenging and fun. So the cool thing about the bugbear is that they have super long arms, so I can reach really, really far. And it's tempting. I wanted to almost make her a rogue, but I thought a 7.5 foot tall bear rogue, kind of weird.
Or awesome.
Or awesome. Maybe if we do another one-off and she comes back a level higher, we'll dip in and we'll see a dinky stealthy bugbear, rogue barbarian. Yeah, exactly. Like in a cartoon, I'll go on my tippy tiptoes. But no, this is my first time playing a barbarian, and I wanted to try that because in every MMO that I play, I'm usually the healer, maybe a ranged class, and in some of our other D&D games, I have a sorcerer, and then I have a tabaxi rogue. Very excited. But I never play a tank. And so I thought this is a really good opportunity to get in and see if I can mix it up melee smashy style. So I'm super grateful to have the opportunity. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm also really happy that everyone else is so excited and involved and donating and just giving so much of their time and their money to help out John's family. It means a lot. So thank you.
All right, let's since he is going to be not participating in the second part of the campaign here, let's switch over to Jason real quick. Jason, I am so sorry that I had your character as just Gra, not Grockle, the entire time, because I was a little because I'm dumb and I didn't get it. But tell us a little bit about your Kenku fighter. Is Jason muted?
Haha, I muted my headset. I did not unmute the Skype itself. So for my Kenku, I basically, in 2 of my campaigns, I'm running a cleric spellcaster and a monk fighter. And I kind of wanted to go in the middle of that with a fighter class who's also an Eldritch Knight. So cast magic and hit stuff really hard. And it's been interesting. The Kenku I kind of like just because I wish Volos had come out before I had made my current monk, because I would have loved to made him into what I have now as a human monk. The Kenku are basically giant bird people who can speak like parrots, or Arin, I think is the other word. But my monk, I would have loved to have a giant bird person who just runs at the first evil thing he sees and starts pummeling it with his fists. That is the way that I love playing, of just, I either sit back, take pot shots and survey the field, or, hey, there's something, let's go hit it.
It has been suggested because I also rolled up a character for this, that my druid that I had rolled up shift into birds and be a bird lawyer for no reason, for just for things. It seemed weird. I don't know. Birdman. But that actually brings me to our next player to talk about her character. Izzy, tell us a little more about your wizard there.
Okay. I had an idea that I wanted to try. I was looking at the different arcane traditions so far as wizards go, and I was just kind of thinking about what would be a neat idea, and I looked at the divination one, and that seemed to naturally go along with, cleric-y type stuff as well. So this is it's a level 4 wizard with 1 cleric level, and so I kind of based it all off of this god Zavras, who's the god of divination and fate. Seems to match up pretty well. And I wanted to try using a spellcaster in a not blasty fashion, because I think that's something that we tend to see a lot with just spellcasters in general, across every game that I've been in as well, where a lot of times we just kind of fall back on just blasting things in the face, which is fun, but there are other ways to help besides do damage, and so I wanted to try and exercise that as much as possible with this character, and so I have a lot of I try to focus as much on control as possible. And then the divination stuff is just really cool. That roll 2d20s, and then you can switch out any roll you want with it, which is a pretty awesome ability.
Back in 4th edition, when they had different sort of designations and characters, you had defenders that were paladins and fighters. You had strikers that were the main DPS for the party, and they would be your rangers and rogues. Wizards were classified as controllers because as much fun as Jonathan the Magimuscular has blasting things and setting stuff on fire, don't think I didn't hear that bit about casting a fire spell at a wooden wagon. But that is one of the Wizard's big roles, and I know for me personally, my Wizard has gotten kind of away from that, but it's good to see a Wizard sort of return to, hey, it's not just about, like you were saying, doing damage. It's about controlling the battlefield, which is where they get their name. So thank you, Izzy, for that bit. That's awesome. We have...
Can I interrupt for just a second
sure.
here? Just a brief moment. I asked my lovely husband, Luke, to make me a drink for the second half because I figured, all right, I've already screwed up with the timing for the first half, so I might as well have a drink at this point. And he made me this.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
What's
And
in
I don't know, but first off, look at the color of this thing. This is amazing. This orange craziness. Hey, Luke, what is this? It's apparently Hefeweizen with grapefruit juice, which makes a lot of sense.
Nice.
Okay,
But
sounds good.
it is a giant mug. So, I wasn't expecting this to turn into Dungeon Drunks, but apparently it is. Cheers,
It's
everybody.
always Dungeon Drunks.
This is kind of true.
So we are joined by Jack Edithel, who will be playing with us the second half. But before we get to him, I wanted to talk to another member of the party you just heard, Vicky, and she is not stuffing a panini in her mouth hole any longer, so she is available to talk. And so tell us a little bit about Kaylee, the halfling barbarian. Sorry, halfling barbarian.
Yes. So Kaylee. Okay. So I didn't really have an express goal for where I wanted to go with a character creation. So I found a website where it automatically rolls all of your stats for you, and it also automatically picks your race and your class. So I just kept clicking it until I found something that seemed entertaining, and it landed on halfling barbarian. And I was like, wee fists of tiny fury. And yeah, that was pretty much it. The description that it gave me of her personality reminded me a lot of Kaylee from Firefly, so that's where her name kind of comes from. Plus, I don't know if you can see the teeny tiny avatar that's on there, but she's kind of in a jumpsuit type ordeal. But yeah, I just like the idea of having someone that was just really sunny and happy and, you know, just a really positive influence on the group until you make her angry and then she's going to tear you limb from limb. And I thought it was cute.
To perfectly honest, full confession here, I have considered making gnome or halfling barbarians in the past because tiny Yarg running into battle with tiny weapons just is an absolutely precious notion to me. It's just so fun. So like I said before, we are joined by a couple of new players. We'll have our other new player on in a bit, but this player you know from Late Night Jenga Jam, Glib Shark, and Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks. It's Jack Edithel.
Yay!
Hey guys.
Hey.
We'll get into your character for just a bit, but there was a story that you told on Glib Shark about the wonderful person we're here to remember and his family that we're supporting, Jeffrey White. So there was a story about RT Philly that you can share.
I'd love to. So for those who don't know, me and John basically grew up in the Philadelphia area. I'm from Philadelphia itself, John from South Jersey. And we put together this little convention, Rooster Teeth fan gathering / Rooster Teeth community, like artist and project people expo, like our version of TED, I call it, called RT Philly, which ran from 2009 to 2012. Now for the second RT Philly, the one that we crowdfunded for, I booked a venue, and I actually had musicians from the community, Vicky and Jeff Rupert, ready to go to play. except that I didn't because we had no equipment for them, and I was freaking out. And John's like, let me reach out to my stepdad Jeff and see if he can do it. And South Jersey for where he is to University City, Philadelphia, it's a good 45-minute drive. But Jeff just did it. He was like, John needs something. He was there for him. He came by, dropped off the speaker, and everything was set up. The set went up without a hitch, and he kind of saved RT Philly that year, at least the music after party part of it. And because he's local, I've always been sort of welcome in Jeff's home, and he's always been cool, asked me questions about how the show's going, asked me how I'm doing, and had me over his house for barbecues or just whatever. Me, John, and I would hang out back when he was living there, and just a sweetheart of a man. And the world is worse off for him not being around. And his daughter, actually, Allie, I think she's the one who made the cake for RT Philly that year with the fondant and the RT Philly logo.
Yeah,
so
it was awesome.
It's clearly the guy won. He made the most out of life. He seemed happy. He seemed at peace, very, very laid back, just full of life, really. And I'm really sad for his family, but happy for him that he lived such a rich life. And then I feel like if I was able to raise kids half as good as John and his sisters, I'd be a very successful dad. So I'm really happy happy is sort of an interesting word. I'm pleased that I can give back in some way to their family after having them given so much to our community through John and through Jeff and through Allie and through everybody. And I'm really happy to be able to do it in a way that honors John's interests specifically, which are community building, playing Dungeons and Dragons, and drinking.
It's a good trifecta.
Actually, so all right, for those of us who I didn't make this clear before, but if you've listened to other things that we've done, normally we're all about the foul language, and so far Andahar hasn't sworn yet because I don't think we made that clear. But this is a PG-13-ish, kind of going to rated R for language show, even if it hasn't already. But and definitely alcohol is what makes that dream work. So Obo shared what she was drinking. Travancore, what are you drinking?
So I talk a big game about drinking, but there is not a drop of alcohol in my house
right now.
Instead, I will give a nice plug for the good people at Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Has that been a thing recently? Is that a thing? And
it's
certainly not the Ozarka water that I am drinking.
So if we're gonna share drinks, I am drinking. I went to a liquor store right up the street from me recently because people had been talking about this one. I had a bunch of friends, just for some reason, a couple friends got the same beer, Trogs Troganator, and I was like, oh man, I haven't had one of those in a while. It sounds good. I'm gonna stop by this liquor store and see what they have. Turns out they do not have a lot of good beer selections. So what I ended up with is this. It is Blue Moon Cinnamon Horchata Ale.
Well, that sounds amazing.
How fortuitous.
And it is good. Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, we'll see what it's like. It's actually pretty darn good. I mean, cinnamon I love. The horchata gives it kind of a barley-ish nature. It's actually really good. And yeah, cheers to cinnamon.
Lumen's gone a little bit crazy lately with their various concoctions. I had a cappuccino stout from them recently.
Yeah, you can get some interesting additions. There's a local brewery called what is it? It's Dogfish Head. And they have a bunch of different things that they do, but one of the ones that they do that I like is called Namaste, and it has things in it like coriander and I don't know, it's a really bizarre mixture of spices and stuff that they add into the brewing process, but it's actually pretty good. It gives it a really unique flavor.
I love stuff like that. There's a local brewery here that I was going to for a while, and one of the best parts about being knowing this brewery and patronizing them was that when they had their board game days at the brewery, it just smelled so good, with all the tanks that they had and just all the grain sitting around. It was pretty phenomenal. And actually one of the characters in Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks got named after one of those beers. Baron von Cocoa Snoot is named after the Cocoa Snoot Ale, which I would have never thought it would have been good, and it turned out to be amazing.
Would you guys like to hear about what I was supposed to be drinking today?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so what happened were, last weekend I was in Pittsburgh visiting my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and my niece. They live out there, not too far. Not too terribly far from Pittsburgh, and we decided to do some sightseeing on Saturday. So we end up going down there. We find a place called the Church Brew Works, and a good Catholic that I am, I went to this place, and it used to be a Roman Catholic parish, and they closed down, as happens sometimes, and a brewery bought it, and they converted the entire place into a brewery restaurant. So they had like all these different stuff in big casks. They had like all the I was sitting in the bar, but I was looking at the Crown of Thorns, which is kind of weird, but they had some really good like beer selections. We just got the sampler, and I got a 6-pack of something called the Pious Monk Dunkel. So I'm playing as a monk, and I thought, Dunkel's the first 6 letters of the last names of a couple of friends of mine, and I'm not particularly pious. My brother and sister probably are.
Get dunked.
Get dunked, yeah. But we left Monday morning. It was President's Day. I had the banks closed, days off, right? And guess what I left at my brother-in-law's place in Pittsburgh?
The dunk.
So ID.
The dunk I left my dignity intact, but yeah, I'm gonna get back, but not in time for this. Unfortunately, my father-in-law's going up there, and he's gonna pick up some beer for me. Thanks, Dad.
Well,
sorry, I don't mean to be super, super quiet, but while you guys are telling these awesome stories and doing everything, we're having intense DM to player chats in the Skype chat about stuff that would normally happen during a game, which is people saying, hey, can I do this? And can I do that? And can I do this? Which some of it will come up in game when we come back, when we're done with this break. But I just wanted to apologize and then drink some more of my awesome bright orange drink.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
So orange.
So what again? Like we are on a break as we wait for our last player here. One thing that, like I said before, we actually went for our dinner break was that it is important on these longer streams to get up and stretch around and we encourage our audience to do that. Every time someone crits, get up and take a stretch, touch your toes or something. Maybe when we roll ones, you go down and do a push-up or something like that. I don't know. Lord,
that would be super difficult as I am currently surrounded by so much stuff to DM. I have I have the computer, the iPad, the phone, about 12 pieces of paper, 4 books, my own dice set, as well as what's ever on the screen, 2 drinks, and a pencil.
2 drinks.
2 drinks.
I remember
I still have some of the tea left over.
We talked a few years ago about when you were doing workouts while you were playing Halo, and how like you would do push-ups every time you died during the respawn. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, it wasn't when I was respawning, but it was at the end of the game. When usually in between Halo games, you've got a couple of minutes before you roll into the next game. So for a while, I would look at my deaths in the game, and I would do push-ups or sit-ups. I would do 1 push-up or sit-up for every death I had. And then sometimes I had really good games in where I was only doing a couple. And then sometimes I needed to do more push-ups or sit-ups, so I started just doing sets. And so now I don't do that quite so much, mostly because I'm now doing sets of push-ups and sit-ups on a regular basis as part of my workout routine. But I do what you were saying about like getting up in between. I do absolutely try to get up and move around at least a little bit. And then if we've got a huge break, if like we've stopped, I roll with the Halo Wheelman a lot, and we play a lot of Warzone, and we'll play a couple of games and then stop and like talk about the things we do, and I'll get up while we're talking and just move around, because you gotta stretch, gotta keep the joints limber. And yeah, D&D games, that's certainly You guys don't see it when we record for Dungeon Drunks, but Luke gets to hear me groan and complain after I get up after 3 hours of sitting cross-legged on my couch.
Yeah, I found that behind me, I've got a nice recumbent stationary bike that playing old school Halo, going through just the campaign, Mass Effect, as well as Earth Defense Force. If you ever want a game for exercising during loading screens, Earth Defense Force is perfect because that game is not optimized at all. It is like 3 to 4 minute loading screens for a cutscene, and then it loads again into the game itself.
I am super impressed that you can game while you are on the treadmill. I know we've heard Bernie Burns from Rooster Teeth does it. The fact that you can do it and play games, even a campaign like Halo and not multiplayer, because I'll try to turn my screen so people can see behind the curtain. I actually have a stationary bike here in the living room, which is very nice. And I'll get on that thing a lot to watch TV or watch a movie or something. But if I'm trying to use the controller and it's anything more difficult than, say, an old school turn-based RPG, and where if I don't click on something immediately, we're still okay, I'm screwed. My kill-death ratio is in the toilet. So the fact that you can do that is super amazing.
It's easier if it's a recumbent bike because you're not using so much of your upper body strength. So you kind of have your arms free to do whatever it is that you want to do. It's just you're moving your legs. I've tried to do it on a regular stationary bike where you kind of need to have like your core engaged, and it's not the same thing.
Yeah. I did a treadmill for Mass Effect 3, my first playthrough on normal or whatever the medium is. That third person games were fine, but I was going at slower than a walk because I fell off multiple times going at a walking speed of like, I turn right and I just stepped off and stumble, and the person I was living with at the time had to keep coming in and be like, what's going on with you, as I'm whimpering in the corner. But yeah, the recumbent bike's great. A lot of times I do notice I don't keep pedaling like during something that's really exciting. I just kind of stop and play, and then, oh wait, right, I'm not exercising, keep going. That's why those loading screens help out a lot.
Yeah, I know. I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone on the treadmill. That's kind of been my thing over the last couple of over the last year, I guess. And that's a good game to play because since the games are like 5 to 10 minutes, you can probably, depending on how they go, you can get in quite a few if like you're, say, doing it on your lunch break, which I normally am. And then you get to complain to your friends about how this particular lunch break, you just could not draw that one card to save your fucking life over like the 3 games. And it's just, as I think sometimes if you just kind of approach Hearthstone as it's just a glorified coin flip, and sometimes that coin has the same 2 sides, then you'll be okay. It's but that's one thing that I've done.
I hate Hearthstone, but I keep playing. I hate it so much. I had one game where I had someone that I had almost killed like 5 times, and all I needed was maybe like one little card to do a little bit of face damage, and it would not come up. I was like, and then I lost, despite all that. Such a terrible game.
Yeah.
Except I love listening to Luke play because the music is awesome.
And
so
the tavern keeper's voice is good. It's like the dwarven, kind of Scottish dwarven voice. That
you're back, are ya? I bet you're gonna have some stories.
Okay, while we've got you as a captive audience, I want to hear a couple of the old favorite voices from Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks that we haven't heard in a while.
Oh my god! All right, I'll try.
Tim the Guard.
Yes,
the Guard.
Tim the Guard.
I'm sorry. What did you want to talk about?
Tim, is everything okay in Greenest? I know we've been away for a while, but are things going well back there? I know that we haven't kept in touch, and there are people that Jonathan Magic Muscular wants to keep in touch with. But how are things in the town right now?
Things are okay. We're recovering pretty well from all the crazy stuff. You've only been gone for about a week or 2.
I feel like we've been gone for months.
And certainly there are some people who feel the same way. And that's all I really want to say about it. Can I leave now, sir?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, goodbye.
Chavicor, is there anyone else you want to check in on? Actually, I think I know that answer, but
Yeah. Tim, you must tell me, friend.
No.
Are Leia and Jack still selling apples?
Oh my God! You could have had an opportunity to check in on your own mother, and you would be asking about apples.
But Tim's in Greenest, and my mother's in Prakanam, ostensibly. So he wouldn't know anything about that. But Leia and Jack and apples, I feel like Tim can be relied upon to deliver that kind of information.
Literally, all I know is the apple people. The only every time you if you do not if you bring up those two names out of the context of apple in the sentence before it, I'm gonna be like, who are they? I'm gonna assume we just met them and I wasn't paying attention. I'm gonna be like, who are they? I guess we should ask them about the basilisks. But no, it's just the apple people whose lives matter more than really anything.
Think I
we're
hear
not apple people. We're half elves.
I hear some
Are they half elves? Wait, hold on. Are they half elves? Did I
Yeah.
really fucking miss a thing?
Yeah.
They're half elves, or they are elven of some sort.
They're
Yes.
not.
Yes, they are, because when that was one of the reasons when they were talking with each other, they shared a moment of I believe you actually spoke to each other in Elvish, if I remember correctly.
So you can keep your slurs to yourself, thank you, and please.
I didn't have any slurs. I just said they're not half elves.
In fairness, Bernie wasn't there, so she
Because
wouldn't
Bernie
know.
didn't pay attention.
Bernie couldn't pay attention; she wasn't there. But that's completely different game. The